What's up, wrestling fans? Joe Cronin, and this is State of the WWE. I want to get to a few things here. There's been a lot of buildup of news, and honestly, there's probably going to be some things that I leave out of this that I'm going to have to. I'll hear from you guys, and in the comments down below, if I missed something on here you wanted me to speak about, please write that in the comments. I'll do a part 2 possibly later tonight. So that might actually happen tonight, if not tomorrow before Raw. So we're looking at a lot of things here. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the Legends contracts that we've heard so much about. It looks like Booker T, Ric Flair, and Hulk Hogan, they're going to be getting contracts renewed, which I don't know the full details of these things, but usually the standard is about $10,000, up front, and then that they sort of just waive their right to any of the merch. I'm not 100% on it. The details have been kind of all over the place with these things. But then, of course, they still get paid on appearance as well. So the $10,000 is kind of like a good, it's almost like a good faith thing in a way. But they still get paid. And, some of those specifics may include, like, they can still appear at other places. There may be some appearances or TV appearances and things like that where they can't do it. They can't go there, can't do this or that, but they have their Legends contract with the WWE. So, all the specifics are very vague. Usually the guys that get paid less have more flexibility, I guess, right? Like somebody, on a smaller level can kind of go around. Like, let's say Teddy Long gets a Legends contract. He's still able to appear all kinds of places, everywhere, and there's a lot of different rules in place, and it's all based on the individual. And so we could have a lot of guys coming back around WrestleMania time and around Royal Rumble time and that sort of thing. Whatever, as much as God, I love Ric Flair and Booker and Hogan and all of them. I love everybody, but the problem is how bad the product is. That is the real issue. And we're going to get into this whole thing with The Rock in a second. But first, I want to also mention WWE is planning a Queen of the Ring. A Queen of the Ring. WWE's planning a Queen of the Ring, guys. Are you ready? I couldn't give a shit. You know why? Not because I don't care about the women or something like that, but because they can't even get King of the Ring right. All right, they don't care about King of the Ring. So that to me, what it tells me is they're just doing this to be able to say, oh, we're doing the first ever woman's this now. It's really getting over. It's not getting over. I'm really over it, is what I'm trying to say. Just like a company like a video game company that fails or a movie company or whatever. We made this point the other night. A lot of these companies, they don't care what actually happens with the products. All they care about is, did it make the stocks go up? Did it create buzz enough to create money for the stocks? That's a lot of the time all anybody cares about. And that's an honest thing that's been admitted by so many different companies in so many different places. And unfortunately, WWE has fallen into that trap. It doesn't matter what type of show they produce every week. All they care about is, does the stock go up? And are they getting millions or billions of dollars from somebody in a deal somewhere? That's all they care about. And, people that say, well, the company was public back in 2001, in 2002 and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but you know what? Eventually, as a corporation and an entity, you start falling into the evil trap, right? You start playing the game. The more corporate, the longer you're a shareholder, the longer you're public, the more you begin to fall into the system, right? It makes sense why the first 5 to 10 years weren't affected as much by the shareholders, because it was a new thing, and they could still be dictated by the sort of private company rules that they had set up previously. They were still kind of, the train was already in motion, and it wasn't until later that certain things had to be kind of adjusted for shareholders, and results were required in certain ways. And the audience was always dropping a little bit here and there since it went high up in the late 90s. So eventually the shareholders are saying, what are you doing? So you have to expand and diversify and do all these things, that the WWE ended up doing to make the shareholders so happy that the stocks reached one of the highest amounts ever recently when it hit like $80 a share or something. I mean, I bought WWE stock 3 years ago at $9.50 a share. $9 I bought my stock. And it's too bad I sold all the rest of it when I hit 15, because talk about could have been making some kind of money. Jeez. So Queen of the Ring could be coming, and I just don't care. I mean, I wish there was a great King of the Ring and a great Queen of the Ring. That would be nice. I'd be game for that. Put them in opposite ends of the year or something. You know, it's time for the Queen of the Ring tournament. You could do all kinds of things by showcasing some of these women. You know what I mean? And somebody, you know, when Charlotte Flair is in a feud with Becky and all this type of stuff is going on with them, and they're pushing to Mania. You know, right after Mania, maybe you could have a Queen of the Ring, and it'd be nice. You know, someone like Asuka could win it, and maybe you know, you kind of keep it separate almost. You know, and then you have her going up against other people. You could have the Queen of the Ring challenge for the title. You know, that type of thing. When a tournament like that is executed properly, it really has the ability to bump an individual up, and that could really help out. But I don't know. We know that Vince doesn't like them, and I'm not the biggest fan of them either. Once in a while, they're nice to see, and that's about all I can say about that. All these rumors, and it's basically not a rumor anymore because it came out reported by so many credible people that it's basically taken as 100% fact at this point that, you know, Vince McMahon rewrote Raw hours before the show last week. And one thing I can say about that is, remember I mean, you know, it doesn't even feel like anybody was significant enough. I mean, it didn't hurt it or make it better, I don't think, because Raw was so bad the week before, and Raw was still bad last week, but not quite as bad, but it was still a bad show. And I don't know, you know, who knows with Vince McMahon's changes if it was going to get worse or he made it worse. I almost feel like he must have made it worse, maybe, but, you know, I don't know, because he approves everything else anyway. So when people say that he wrote it, that just means that, you know, everything that he had approved and was ready to go forward with, you know, he made some alterations at the last minute himself. It's not the first time he's done it, for sure. And it's certainly not the last time he'll do it. And he does it a lot more other times where, you know, people don't even know about it. Wow, Miami just, oh my God, dude. The Patriots are about to win this game against the Dolphins. I'm sorry to talk about football, but the Patriots are about to keep the Dolphins from beating them, which would have been ridiculous to lose to the Dolphins. And they just lateraled the ball several times and ran it into the end zone and beat the Patriots. I got to imagine right now that the Patriots radio commentary, Scott Zolak, is killing somebody right now. That was insane. And it was all for a waste, too. A crappy piece of garbage Dolphins team that will go nowhere this year beats you with a stupid lateral. Unbelievable. You got to make that tackle there. That is embarrassing and horrible. Wow. That was insane. I don't know, man. Anybody that watched that game or watched that highlight later, you'll enjoy that. That was wild. What the hell is wrong with the Patriots? All right, well, let's just whatever. Vince McMahon rewrote Raw. It's not a big deal to me. Who cares? He basically writes it every week anyway, because he picks and chooses what goes in the cookie cutter storyline this week, you know? So let's get into this Rock and Reigns thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, Maddie somebody sent me a question about Big Cass. Yeah, man, I heard about that, man. I hope everything is okay with him. going forward. I mean, once you have one seizure, that's pretty terrifying, man. At the House of Hardcore show, Big Cass has a seizure. That is, you see pictures of Tommy Dreamer like around him and people checking on him, and that is very scary. Let's get to, I hope he's okay, though. I mean, I don't know what to say about it after that. I don't know what the medical diagnosis is or what's going to happen. I hope he is all right and he's okay to talk about it at some point. How does it affect his professional career? I don't know. This poor guy just has had negative after negative going on with him, from getting released to, breaking up with Enzo and all that stuff. We find out the guys didn't even like each other, really. I mean, just a sad, very sad sort of story right now for Big Cass, or his real name escapes me at this time, but, whatever. I just hope he's okay. So, The Rock versus Roman Reigns, we all really believed was planned for WrestleMania. We all knew it. We all kind of said, and we really felt it was sort of a recreation of Hulk Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania, what was it? WrestleMania 18, I think, or WrestleMania 17. I think it was 18, maybe. We all really thought it was a kind of recreation of that. We thought, The Rock is the guy. Everybody loves The Rock. Hogan's coming back. Hogan's playing the bad guy. But instead, the crowd just erupted for Hogan. They turned on The Rock, which was crazy. So I think this was WWE's way of saying, let's pass the torch with The Rock, And I think you would have had a very similar situation at WrestleMania. I think you would have had a lot of people cheering for The Rock, and everybody would have been booing Roman Reigns, And unfortunately, that's not probably going to happen, obviously. It's definitely not going to happen now, because that would have been phenomenal. Because I hate Roman Reigns so much that I would have booed the hell out of him and cheered for The Rock like crazy. And that would have been exciting to do, because it would have effectively sort of made Roman the heel. Even though WWE didn't want to make him the heel, it would make him the heel, because the whole crowd would be booing Roman Reigns and cheering for The Rock. But now you can never do that, because when Reigns comes back, I'm going to cheer Reigns when he comes back. So that is just not going to happen now. Unless you flip The Rock heel or something, and I just don't see how that have time to do that. But, betting odds on The Rock winning the Rumble were very high. He might have even been number one or top three. So betting odds on The Rock winning the Rumble were there. Now, what will The Rock do now that Roman Reigns is out of the picture, and they're obviously not going to be able to do this storyline or match for WrestleMania? I'm assuming they can't with what's going on with Roman. Now, earlier I had heard conflicting reports that Roman was doing not very good, and it was going bad for him, and now his survivability was really low. But I heard from a few other people who said it was going great and fast, and he's almost done, actually. And then they just have to keep checking him for weeks and following up with things and levels. So those are the conflicting reports I'm hearing. I tend to go with the positive one because I just don't believe that he's doing bad. I believe that more likely that he is almost already done, and that he is now going to be monitored for levels and things like that. That tends to be the one that I believe more. And if it's true, well, I mean, that's amazing that it was that quick, if that's the case. But only Roman knows that, and people like that know it. So, what's going to happen with The Rock? Well, now it's being said that maybe The Rock will still be showing up at WrestleMania, but instead he'll face Brock Lesnar, which would, again, most people believe, effectively make Rock the face, and people would boo Lesnar. Where, people are sick of Lesnar, and The Rock could say that too. The Rock's been sitting back, The Rock's watching you think you're the shit, you're the Brock Lesnar, and you're this and that. Well, The Rock, and sort of like The Rock is the rescue, right, from this Brock and Braun and Roman, this boring trend of main events that we've had, we're sick of, we're done with. But now here's The Rock to save us all. So you would effectively have the same sort of situation in a way. The fans would probably cheer The Rock, and they'd probably boo Lesnar. I don't think to the degree with Roman. There is a slight possibility that the fans, if Roman and Rock had wrestled at WrestleMania, there is a slight possibility that the fans would have cheered for Roman. and they would have maybe booed The Rock and said, you know what, we finally accept him and get the old guys who keep coming back out of here. There may have been a possibility for that, but I believe it would have been a very low one. There is also a small possibility, if Roman is way ahead on schedule, that they still could do Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania 35, which I would consider a miracle. And if that was the case, I think it would be dangerous because you'd still have some people I think that would boo Roman, believe it or not. But maybe you could spin The Rock, and maybe The Rock would be a heel. You know, maybe it would be one of those things where Roman's calling out The Rock. You know, maybe it'd be one of these things where maybe The Rock wins the Rumble and then he says, well, I'm not going to face Roman, so I'll face, the other guy. And then Roman's offended, like, why don't you want to face me and everything? I don't know. Maybe they could have gone so many different routes. I think likely right now the result is going to be Brock Lesnar versus Rock. I don't think Rock will pull out of Mania. I think he will maybe show up and wrestle Brock. I then think it's also possible, depending on the Rock schedule, that they will retry this next year at WrestleMania 36, or they may try it at SummerSlam should Roman Reigns be okay. Of course, this is all pending Roman Reigns' health, which the guy has cancer, so that's a crazy thing, obviously. Let's just hope the guy gets. I just want to see that Roman Reigns cured again. That's what I want to see, and I'd love to see that by February. Wouldn't that be amazing if by February Roman Reigns cured, Roman Reigns recovering, that type of thing, and he could potentially make it back? That would be amazing. I'm assuming because we haven't had any really bad news yet that the treatments are going somewhat well, and Roman showed up at the Tribute of the Troops thing. He also showed up at a football game or two, so that's good news. So there's a lot of good things working here, I think, so far. For Roman, we don't know, and that's good. It means a lot, but there's really nothing else to say about that, I don't think. But again, I just hope Roman makes it through it. And how will WrestleMania in New York be affected? I don't know. Remember, guys, we'll be partying in New York. Hopefully, this year. I should be at WrestleCon, and I should have a table, and then I should be doing a show at a bar in New York before WrestleMania as well, before the weekend happens, really. Although now, NXT was moved to Friday, I believe it is, which is weird because WrestleCon's that day, so then that night is NXT, and Friday was really going to be the big night where we did monetize this and all these other things. So we could still do that. In fact, we may kind of couple it into a NXT review / monetize this party, and I don't know where to do that or what to do that with yet. Now we see the contradiction out there, man. But that's all I got for you guys. This was State of the WWE. Hope you enjoyed it. If you guys really enjoyed it and you stuck around this whole time, we could. I have 30 hours of bonus content for you on Patreon. From the Corrupted podcast on Saturdays to Morning Madness, my podcast, solo podcast during the weekdays and the mornings. Yeah. And, of course, on Wednesdays, we do Out of Nowhere Live on the show. Me and Leah's podcast, Till Death Do Us podcast. We might be killing each other soon. So we'll see if you want to sign up for that. Anyway, whatever. Who gives a fuck? See you guys later. Leave a like, leave a comment. Share this video. Like it, do whatever you can. If you want me to keep doing these videos, do some of that. Share it around, let people know, and fucking I don't know. I also want to thank all the patrons who made this video possible. If you guys want to support on Patreon, please sign up on Patreon to get bonus content, 30 hours a week. Plus, I want to shout out the $25 or above producers of the Joe Cronin Show who are at the $25 tier and above. You guys can support me there too if you'd like. Not only are you supporting the show, but you get a 30 hours of bonus content as well. So shout out to Justin McNeil, Brian Himmelfarb, Gerald Armstrong, 27 Freddie Mitch, Sav King, Mike Hartzler, Frog Kid, BigBadAds, V2ofDoom VITO, Coop the Comedian, The Bear, 1322, Cameron Sinclair, Tyler Lewis Floyd, Nicky J, SoCom Kastle, and Mike Too Cricky. That might actually be Mike as well, Mike Hartzler, but I'm not sure. But anyway, thank you guys for making this possible. Now we continue with the video, and you guys can sign up on patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. Over 350 have, and they're loving it. We have a lot of shows on Patreon, and we can add your name to this list if you're $25 above. That's one of the perks on that tier.